Hey everybody, Poker Dad here. Long time no see. It's been a while since I've made a video. Had some stuff going on and haven't had a chance to make any videos, and I haven't been playing as much poker lately. But tonight I am making a video here, just a study video before my session. So what I'm going to be looking at here in this video is I'm just going to be looking at three hands that I raised first in and then I triple barreled with. So I want to take a look at some hands and just take a look and see how I play them. Let me just. So I don't have many. I don't have many hands here that actually went to showdown. So there won't be too many. Don't have too many to choose from that I have tagged as showdown hands. But we'll take a look at them and we'll see what we can find. See if I can find any mistakes that I may have made, and review three hands. So I'm just gonna pick one at random here. All right. So this hand looks like it was played on ACR at NL5, and I have Queen 8 suited here from the button. So let's see how this hand starts off here. So of course I'm going to open raise here. I open raise 2.5x, and we get a call from a player who we have 416 hands on. So let's just go to Flopzilla first, and let's throw in here. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. So we have Queen of Diamonds and Eight of Diamonds. So Queen of Diamonds, Eight of Diamonds, first of all, from the cutoff is pretty aggressive. I guess I was using upswing ranges at the time here, which would have had me open up a hand like this, Queen 8 suited. Yeah, so I was playing a laggy style here. In fact, let me see what my stats were here. My stats were 27, 21 through 106 hands, so kind of a laggy style. My opponent is a 28-18. So what I'm going to do to create his range is his VPIP is 28. Actually, I'm going to take a look and see what his big blind stats are. So his big blind, he is a 30 VPIP, and his 3-bet is 5. So what we'll do is we'll take his range here, and we'll slide this up to 30. It's an easy way to do it. And then take away about 5% for what would be. This is pretty good. This would be like his 3-bet. I think he would win 3-bet 9-9. So we'll take 9-9 out of there. So we'll say his 3-bet is this stuff here, and everything else he's calling suited aces, ace 8, all these hands here, king 9, 8, queen 9. Maybe hands like this here, we could say that he would call. Maybe all these other aces too, but I'll leave those out for the sake of this video. Some suited gappers. So we'll give this range to him here. So I'm actually behind this particular range that's calling me with my queen 9. But let's see how the hand plays out here. So I get 2 8s here. So we get 8 of clubs, 10 of clubs, and 8 of clubs. And I am in position, which is good here. So let's just throw in this hand here of 8 of clubs and 10 of clubs and 8 of hearts. Okay. Now his fold to c-bet is 35%. So I'm going to figure that out in a second, which means he would call about 65% of his hands. So let's see. So he checks to me here, and I throw out a half pot bet. So I'm not really sure why I threw out a half pot bet here. I definitely would have liked to see myself throw out at least a 2/3 pot bet, but I threw out a half pot bet. I don't really like that bet here, but maybe I throw out this bet because I wanted him to maybe chase some draws with me having 3 8s. But I'm not really sure because I think he's either going to call or he's going to fold here. So I think I just need to throw out a 2/3 pot bet. So I don't like my bet size here. And he calls it. So let's see now. Let's see what hands he would continue with here. So what I'm actually going to do. So right now, of course, I have 87% equity, so I'm definitely in good shape here. Now, let's see what 65% is calling with here. So I'm doing is looking at the bottom there, pocket pair, below top pair. Let's give him draws flush because I gave him a really great price for draws, and we'll give him weak pair. And so he's pretty much would be calling with most of his hands here. Lots of draws, of course. And we're still pretty far ahead of his range here at 82% equity. So if he's calling with any club draws, he does have some eights as well. He does have a 10-8 in there, so he could have a full house. What do you think? Something like that would probably raise us. So he has some eights as well. Not too many eights though, which goes without really saying because I mean we have an 8, so it's not too many 8s he possibly could have. So it is a possibility that he is definitely chasing some draws here. And he's got some 10s. He's got some 10s as well. Queen 10, King 10, Ace 10, Jack 10. So he's got some 10s as well. Some with other Broadway cards, and 10-9 of course, 10-8. So next card we have come out is a 5 of clubs, which is not good for us if he is chasing a draw here. So let's throw out the 5 of clubs. And that drops our equity down to 76% before we see what the action is here. So he checks to me, and I mean, definitely I think this is definitely another good spot to bet here when he checks. We can't fear him having a flush and checking behind and possibly seeing another club. So I think a bet here is definitely the right play, and I'd like to see myself, definitely bet at least 2/3 pot bet here. And I do that. It's actually about 3/4 pot bet, so I don't mind that as well. Get some value out of this hand with the 3/8s, and we just hope he doesn't have a flush and doesn't have a 10 or even a better 8 too. Which again, there aren't too many. There actually aren't any better 8s he could possibly have unless he has Ace 8 or King 8. There are not too many better 8s than the 8s I have. So of course he has 10-8. Then that's a different story. And he does call here. So let's see now what he could possibly call with. Let's think about what this player would call with now. Now we got to think a little bit more than just percentages here. So quads, he doesn't have any quads. He could have full houses now with a 5 with that 5 coming out as well. One would think that he might raise it here, but we're not going to take it out of his range because maybe he's planning to bet on the river. So we'll take a look. And of course, he could definitely have a flush. There are no straights here. 3 of a kind, so he could have any of these 8s as well, which he would definitely be calling with here. He has no overpairs. I could definitely see a scenario where top pair might call here. So I can't take that really out of his range. And the nut flush draw, there's all these, the nut flush draw. I could definitely see him calling a nut flush draw. A second nut flush draw, I wouldn't say so. And let's see, open-ended straight draw here. I don't see him calling it open and straight draw either, so I think I'm going to take that out of his range. So let's see what he has remaining. So my equity is at 69%. So of course he has all those flushes that he could have. Let's see what hands are beating us here at this point. All the flushes are beating us, and the 8s that are higher than a queen, and the 2 pair is well, not 2 pair. The full house with the 10-8 is definitely beating us as well. So most of his range, though, we are still ahead of. So I think we could definitely triple barrel here. And a 10 comes out. So this actually is not really a good card. It's a very, very tricky card at this point here. If he does have a 10. But before I click off, well, let's see now. Let me just throw it in here. 10 of hearts comes out. So this actually puts our equity at 34%. So how many 10s does he have? He's got a lot of 10s actually, because he has 8 combos of Ace 10. He's got 8 combos of King 10, and he's got 6 combos of Queen 10. He's got 8 combos of Jack 10. He has 8 combos of 10-9. And he already had 10-8 also, a combo of that. So this actually is a pretty tough situation here on how to handle this because he does have a lot of tens in his range. And if we want to think logically, okay, there's a very good chance he has a 10, unless he was, unless he was calling that flush draw. Like if he wasn't calling a flush draw, then it's a very good chance that he has a 10 at this point. If we just think logically about the player's NL5 calling that bet with two eights and a 10. So I think that he either has that he's either going to be showing us a 10 here or a flush. So let's see. So he checks. So I think that this is a situation where it's almost best for me just to check back and not triple barrel here, because I don't know, like, what else is he going to call me? What else is he going to call me with except for the flush? I mean, I guess he could call me with the flush, and I could triple barrel here. But I could also just kind of bet small, bet half pot here. I don't think I'm going to get too much value from worse except for a flush. And I could be nervous about that 10. He does have tons of combos. In fact, I just want to look back over here at the percentages. 75% of his range is a full house. So, and his full houses, if we just say his full houses have 86% equity versus us, which I think could be enough reason just to really check back here. But as you know, I filtered for a triple barrel, so let's see what happened here. So I bet 2/3 pot. I don't really like that bet here, especially on this particular board here, where if he has the 10, he has a better full house. I got the bottom. I have the lower full house. I don't really see a scenario that he's calling with worse unless he has a flush. So let's see. The only good news is this if he has fives now, the fives don't do anything. Well, now he goes all in. So I think we're really in trouble here, because why would he go all in if he doesn't have a 10? So this actually is probably a good spot for me to fold here. And I can actually, I think, comfortably fold my full house here. And assume that he would not be doing this without him having a 10. But as you know, I called it here, and I think this was definitely a mistake. And not only does he have 110, he has 210, so he actually had quads here, which I didn't even have in his range. But either way, so we were behind from the beginning. But I do agree with the bets I made. I would have liked to see myself bet a little bit bigger on the flop, but I don't like the river bet. I should have just checked behind on a river bet, and if I would have just checked behind on a river bet, we could have avoided a complete mess here. And instead, he raises, and I call it. Just saying, oh, I have a full house, when really my full house is really not very strong as well at all. So. Definitely don't like how we played this hand. Let's take a look at the next hand. So this hand was played NL5 zone on ignition. And it looks like I'm in the button with ace-4 offsuit. Now let's take a look here. So I open raise 3 big blinds, and we get a call from the big blind here. So ace, and I don't mind this open. We're in the button, so this is a fine open. So I have ace and 4, and let's see, my opponent's kind of short stack, but this isn't going to be an SPR situation. Which is good. So the range that we're going to give here, the big blind VPIP is 29% on average with a 6% 3-bet. So that's That's the range we'll give as an average for these players. So I say 29, and what I say, 6. On average, this is how the players at zone will play. So not 100% accurate, of course, but you know, just a range to kind of go with here. And you know, in terms of SPR, it's not even close. You know, if I just break out the calculator here, if no reverse a short stack, so 2.35 divided by 0.32, so 7 SPR. Not really, you know, something that we need to get all in with, but we definitely can. And you know, we get a good flop for ourselves. We get very, very similar to the last hand we looked at, where again we have 3 of a kind on the flop. This time with the best possible kicker. So let's get 4 of spades, 7 of spades, and 4 hearts. All right. And of course, our equity is great here versus his particular range, since you know he doesn't really have 4s in his range at all, except for Ace 4, which we have as well, and 7s. He doesn't have many 7s in his range. 9 7, 8 7, 7 7, 7 6. That's about it, and King 7, A7. So definitely very good shape here. And he checks to me, so definitely a spot here where I could throw out about a 2/3, 3/4 pot bet, and I do that. So good healthy bet there, 21 cents into a 32-cent pot, giving you 28% pot odds to continue, and he does that. So let's take a look and see what hands he might continue with here, knowing the type of player we're dealing with here at NL5 at Ignition. So he could have a full house with a pair of 7s. That's, you know, very slim, only 1% chance of that. He could also have 3 of a kind. We could be chopping right now. Top pair, he can definitely be calling with any of his 7s, which would make sense. His pocket pair below top pair, which is 6 6 and 5 5, I could definitely see him calling with something like this here. Absolutely being above the 4s. Weak pairs, I don't think we'll see him call a 3 3 or a 2 2. Ace highs here, I don't believe so, not just on merit itself. Could he be calling at least a flush draw for the turn? Yeah. Even though I didn't give him a great price, you know, he's definitely a recreational player because he's playing short stack, so we'll say that he would call these draws here. So versus his particular range here, as you can take a look, we knocked out most of his Broadway cards. He has a lot of spades in there, and the 7s, and then a couple of those pocket pairs. All right. So let's take a look at the next card. Is an ace of diamonds. So we turn the nuts here with a full house. I think that should be pretty good for us. So our equity is sitting at 92%, and this kills any potential draw that he could have been going for. And what would be really nice here is just curious. So I'm just having a complete brain fart here. Okay, yeah. So actually, we don't want to have 7s because 7s would actually be better. Because 7s over 4s are better than 4s over aces. I don't know why my brain just froze for a second. I didn't realize which full house is better. And actually, 7s over 4s is better than 4s over aces. So we really don't have the nuts because he could definitely have a better full house here with 7s over 4s. So let's take a look and see what happens here. He does decide to check out of position, which is fine. And I think obviously I have to double barrel with a boat. And I do. And again, it's about 2/3 pot bet here. Good for value. And he does call it here. So let's see what he be calling with. So there are no quads. Full house, of course. Although you would think he would raise a full house, but we saw with the last guy, he didn't even, he didn't raise a full house on the turn. So, we could say maybe this guy won't either. Straight three of a kind. There's two pair with ace seven. All right. So that kind of makes sense if he had a seven. Now he has two pair. And top pair with all of his aces that he was trying to get the flush. He would definitely call with that. Pocket pair below, top pair, middle pair. We think at this point, I think he would definitely dump the middle pairs. He would dump those sevens that haven't improved, especially with an ace coming out. And weak pairs, 6, 6, 5, 5. Could he be holding out for a potential boat here with 6, 6, and 5, 5? I wouldn't put it past these types of players here. They like pairs and stuff like that, so I could definitely see him, especially versus type of player. I'm actually going to keep the weak pairs in there. Even though I take the I know it doesn't make any sense, right? I'm taking the 7 out. Why am I taking the weak pairs out, right? Pocket pair below top pair. You think he may call again with middle pair? I won't put it against. I won't put it past him. I won't put it past him. Draws, I don't think he's chasing draws anymore. So he's just playing with pairs at this point. So I'm not going to take the sevens out. I wouldn't put it past a player like this to be calling with a 7. These players do that. But we still have 88% equity versus his range that's remaining here, which is aces and some sevens and, just a bunch of pairs, really. And two pairs. And of course, the hopefully he doesn't have full house. And we get a 10 of diamonds. 10 of diamonds really isn't going to do much for him because he doesn't have any 10s in his range. So his hand does not improve here at all. So, I mean, this is obviously triple barrel. Just win this thing. And hopefully he doesn't have 7. So he checks to us again. So I really don't feel like he has 7s here, but, he could. He is checking to us. Again, we had a guy just check to us with 10s, but I don't see any reason not to call this here because he could definitely have many worse hands than the full house that we have. So we throw out a bet, and we throw out a pretty big bet. It's not quite a pot-sized bet, a little bit lower than the pot-sized bet here. And he does give it a call. And he shows us ace-5. So, we took a look at this here, and ace-5 is definitely a hand that I had in his range. He called the nut flush draw on the flop, hit an ace, so he definitely wanted to call that here. And then, called the 10, just calling the ace down at that point. I guess the only thing he'd say is I should have, I left 39 cents behind. I should have obviously grabbed that last 39 cents. I should have just went all in at that point. I think my concern was, he's not going to call if I just put him all in, and I think that's a mistake. I really should have put him all in. But we take that one down. Let's take a look at one more hand. So we got a three-handed hand, hand-in-hand here. This was played. This was played on Ignition at a regular table, and I have king. So I have king of clubs and king of spades, and L5. So we raise it up here from the what's essentially the button. And the small blind calls, and we get a fold here. So the small blind, kind of tough to put on a range here, so I'm going to kind of give a standard range. Through 15 hands, he was a 43-7. So what I'm going to just do, it's kind of tough to range an opponent like this. I'm just going to kind of give a standard. It's kind of tough too. This is kind of a tough one here. Just because it's, a lot of good players would 3-bet here, and not flat. So you know what I could do is, no. Let me give him some pocket pairs, except let me take out the big ones here. I'll leave Jack Jack. Maybe he would call it Jack Jack. Let me do like some suited aces here. Maybe he'll call with like Ace Jack. I think he would 3-bet Ace Queen, but I'll throw out Ace Queen off. I'll leave Ace Queen suited. I'll leave some hands like this here. Some of these suited hands here. Suited connectors I'll throw in. Maybe I'll throw in some suited gappers. Just get, you know, King Queen off, I could say. Ace 10. You know, he's a recreational player, so he might even just go for hands like this too. And call these types of hands just because they're connected. Queen 10. Again, Queen 9, hands like that too. You know, we think that maybe a player like this is probably going to call too wide here. And not 3-bet enough. But I think call too wide here. So I think a range like this might make some sense. You want to give him these two just because they're broadways. And give him a pretty wide range, which is fine. Okay. It's a pretty wide range, but I don't have much to go on here. But I think that these hands are probably safe to say that he might call with here. Which, I mean, still I have 79% equity versus him. I have 2 kings, of course. And the flop is an interesting flop. It does hit some of his range here, but he doesn't really have any 2 pairs. Right, so he's got maybe a set of 2s, a set of 9s, and a set of 6s. So he's got the sets here. He doesn't really have 2 pairs here. And he does have a flush draw. So let's see. He checks, and I throw out about a 2/3 pot bet, which is pretty standard here. And he calls it. By the way, his stack size is you know, it's NL5, so he's got over 100 big blinds. So let's take a look and see, you know, what he's calling with here. Oh, I didn't put in the, let's do this off screen. 6 of spades, 2 of hearts, and 9 of spades. So my equity is 82% here. So what's he calling me with here? He's calling with a set. He doesn't have any 2 pairs. He's got the over pairs here. He's got the top pairs with the 9s, so he'll call with that. Pocket pair below top pair. Yeah, because top pair is a 9. Yeah. And middle pairs. At least 1 street. You know, he's definitely a recreational player because of the fact that he calls here. So I could leave him with those. Unless he's, you know, like I said, unless he's got like a small pocket pair or something like that. Weak pairs will take out of his range. We'll leave draws. We gave him a decent enough price to even to at least for an open ender. I'm gonna take gut shots out, but at least an open ender and a flush draw. So our equity versus range is still 73%. Still in pretty good shape. And we got 3 of clubs. Again, pretty good for us. I mean, the only 3 I have in his range is an ace 3. You know, he doesn't have 2 pairs. He doesn't have 2-3. So I'd say it's still pretty darn good for the range here. 3 clubs. Pretty good for us. Not too worried. You know, we eliminated 3s from his range as well, so he doesn't have a set of 3s. So this 3 does not improve him at all. He checks, and again we bet about 2/3 pot bet, and he calls it. So his call here is definitely very interesting. You know, it makes you a little worried that he might have a set. Again, you may think, oh, he may raise a set here, but some people don't raise. You know, some people would just rather call than raise, or they'll raise on the river, or bet on the river. Definitely some concern. I'm definitely a little bit concerned here that he's calling with this particular board, that he's calling 2 streets so far. So I mean, he has no straights, but he has these sets. No 2 pair. He's got the overpair, so Jack, Jack, 10, 10 would definitely be calling here. And his top pairs, I mean, he's got no reason not to call them. The pocket pair below top pairs, 8, 8, and 7, 7. I mean, he can still call them because he's not worried about the 3 either. Middle pair, I mean, you know, Middle pair's a 6. Is he going to call twice with a 6? He might. He might. You know, if he's a recreational player, he might. Weak pairs, no. And I think draws, I think, are done. I think he's not chasing. The draws are done. At this point, the turn, you know, most of these players are not chasing down draws. They're focused on their pairs at this point. So still, we have very good equity here, 81%. The one thing I'm really concerned about here, he has 8%. 8% of his hand are sets. And that's the only real problem. That's the only thing we're worried about is sets. But he could have them. Would it shock me if he should have put a set? No. And here we get a 7. So it would have been nice to see some Broadway cards here. So I'm a little nervous on this one. Because the 7... I mean, the 7 still doesn't bring any straights for him. So... all the 7 does is it adds another potential set for him. So this is a pretty interesting spot here. I could make an argument here for just checking the river here. You know, a straight would be 10-8. I don't think he has 10-8, you know, unless he called with 10-8 suited. I mean, sometimes these guys would. I did put 10-8 suited in his range though, but with 10-8. Well, I mean, 10-8 could call the turn, but I don't think 10-8 is calling the. I mean, 10-8 could call the flop, but I don't think 10-8 is calling the turn. So I'm not too worried about a straight here. I'm definitely concerned about a set. So I think that here in this spot here, I really should be just checking back on the river, because, you know, I mean, he doesn't. He has 9-7 now, so you have 2 pair. I mean, how many nines combos of 9-7 does he have? He's got 2 combos of 9-7. You know, he's got 2 combos of 7-6. So it's 2 pairs. Yes, 11% of his range is 2 pairs. So he could call with those. 12% sets, 11% 2 pair. Well, we don't want him to call with that either though, because that would beat us too. So look at that. So 12% sets, 11% 2 pair. That's a lot of hands. That's a lot of hands that can beat us. So I think that 23% of hands that could beat us. I think there's more than enough reason here to just check behind, and not get married to the fact that we have kings here, because there's a lot of stuff here that can beat us. That, especially that a small blind would have called. So he checks. And I really believe we should have. Obviously, we know we bet here because the filter is set. But I really think there's something I should have checked back on. And I bet a 2/3 pot bet. And if he calls, I'm really going to be surprised that we won, unless he just really just made a bad call, and we, you know, kind of get lucky here. And he flips the 8-8. So we got lucky on this one here, that he just made a really bad call, and we take it down. But I really think that the right play there was to, and I did have 8-8 in his range, by the way. I really think the right play there definitely was to check back there. But we did get value, which is good. But I don't want to think that that was a good play, because there was so much there that was going to beat us. I mean, granted, we still beat a lot. You know, we beat his over pairs. We beat his top pairs. But is he really ever calling with that stuff? Well, this time he did. But normally, is he? I don't really think so. Normally, we can't bank on a player playing like that. You know, we got kind of lucky here that this player was married to his pair of 8s. So we took it down. So anyway, there you go. Reviewed 3 hands. I thought this was a pretty productive study session. If you like what you saw, do me a favor and please subscribe and click the like button. And until next time, Poker Dad.